Hello, good morning to everyone, um, classmates and teacher. So this is Rafael Linares, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about the book that I just read, which is Justine by Marquis de Sade. Probably you have heard about Marquis de Sade. This was a man that was born in France. He was born on June 1740 and died in December 1814. This man was from royalty, but is basically well known by his books. Um, if you have heard about the word sadomasochism or sadims, which is basically the same, so we can associate this word with Marquis de Sade because that is where the word came from. So basically, sadims is when someone reaches the pleasure through the pain. And this is because all the books from Marquis de Sade are loaded with this kind of content. So what I can tell you, the book that I'm going to present right now is a strong book in matter of sexual acts or sexual contents. So obviously I'm not going to show you all the details in this video because it's really hard, not hard but heavy, so it's a strong content. So for now, well, you can investigate a little bit more about this novel. You are going to find out what I'm telling you right now, basically. So the other part is that I really recommend you. It's not a literature for everyone, so that is what I can say. So if you have that, well, you cannot take all what you read personal because it's going to be hard for you to understand that. Okay, so now let's get in matter with Justine. Justine is a book about two girls, but basically it's just focused on this one, which is Justine. We are going to know this little girl has Sophie throughout the book. This is because she wanted to conceal her own name at the beginning of the history. So this is because it was, according to her, it was an unfortunate girl that it was living pain since she was a little kid. So this story starts when Justine used to live in an orphan with her sister. For some reason, they had to leave the orphan. They were separated, and Justine took her own path. Okay, so here is going to be the first stage, the first offer of this girl. So this girl was taken to a lady. This lady, her name was Madame Juliette, and Juliette was really demanding of money. You know, as if you live some place that is not your house, you need to pay the rent. And that is basically what happened to this girl. So can you imagine that she was only 12 years old, and she needed to pay the rent. Okay, so now, because obviously this little girl didn't have the money to pay the rent, so she went to a gentleman. The gentleman was really important in this town because he was basically a politician or something like that. So she could help the lady to have some money and pay the rent. But this man said that he was too little to make some stuffs at home or make some job. I don't know, you know. So this man was asking to make some sexual acts with him, as you already know. So this little girl was just a child. She was 12 and she didn't accept the terms. So he was scared and went back to the lady's house, Juliet's house. So Juliet says that she needed the money either way. So she went back. Juliet went to this gentleman and convinced him to accept the girl once again. So this girl went back to this man, accept the terms. Can you imagine, 12 years old, and this little kid was having sex with a man, with an old man. She was 40, so she was scared. Okay, so to make sure that this lady is going to be back at his home, he only gave her the money to pay the rent at that time. but the lady didn't accept to have sex anymore with him. So the lady, I mean, the little kid left the house. For some reason, she went to another man's house. This man, well, it was really bad. She wanted to kill his own wife to have her money. Well, so she wanted to have the little girl, I mean Sophie, as a minion of this, and she didn't accept the terms. So what happened was that this man, which is Mr. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but well, she wanted to commit a crime through this girl. She didn't accept, obviously, because of the principles that she had, and she has been raised with principle because at the beginning, like I said, she was in an orphan. Okay, so she was accused to steal a diamond from this man. She didn't do anything, but this man accused her to steal the diamond. He put it beneath the mattress. So this little girl was taken to a jail. A jail. She knew a lady. Her name was Mrs. Dubois. He became friend, a really close friend, and after that, well, Mrs. Dubois helped her to go out to jail. They wanted to escape, so that's why they burnt the jail. Okay, so after that, the lady escaped from those girls because they wanted to turn the lady into a sexual slave. She wanted to basically turn her into a prostitute, and it was really hard for her. So at that point, she left. I mean, she abandoned them. She didn't want to continue the path with them. At this point, she went through the forest. Unfortunately, she found another boy that was Marquis de Brissac. This was a really bad guy. She tied her to a tree, and well, basically, he wanted to have her as a maid at his home to take care of his mother and all of that. So well, she accepted. Long story short, this man wanted to kill his own mother and wanted to have this lady to make the job for him. She didn't accept once again, but unfortunately, she was falling in love with this man. He was 30 and she was at this point 14. But for some reason, she left the house because this young boy wanted to kill her because she didn't accept the terms. Basically, kill his mother. So the lady left the house. At this point, we have another history in a monastery where she have four monks and one father. The father abused her really, really hard. They were having an orgy at church. Can you imagine that? That was really a strong content. And well, what I didn't tell you at the beginning of this history is the history begins with the little girl, Justine, in this case Sophie. She was in jail because she was accused of three crimes, the one that I'm telling you right now. And Justine, well, is recounting this history to a lady which is Madame de Lorsange. Okay, so let's go back to the history. After that, well, Justine left the monastery and started another life with another man. Basically, they wanted to do the same. The lady is having one tragedy and then another and then another. Long story short, at the end of this history, Mrs. de Lorsange went to jail to visit Sophie, know all her crimes, and at the end, what she did was clean the the crimes. She took her to his house, but we have a big secret in here, which is the end of the history. Mrs. de Lorsange was her sister, the one that was separated at the beginning of this history. If you remember, they were two in the orphan. So this lady was her sister. Well, at the end, like I said, this lady, all the crimes from her are removed. She is not accused for kill anybody or because she is a thief or something like that. So everything is removed. Unfortunately, well, she died at the end of this history, and Madame de Lorsange, well, became a religious in her name to save all the purity that she had or that she shown throughout its history. Basically, this is the history. So the history is about all the tragedy that we can find about the life of this girl. So what we have from here, and if we check more details throughout the book, is the you need to be, you need to remain steady no matter what. So all the principles that you have been taught on your family at school, at this point at college, you need to respect them. So you don't need to be fighting with your morality if something is right or is wrong. So you already know. If you can do something good, you should do it. And if you are offered to do something bad, do not do it because you have been taught about your principle at home that that is not good to do it. Okay, so that is what we learned from this book. Around all the history about the sexual contents, we need to take the best that we have from this book. Like I said, is the morality sometimes is going to happen bad things to good people, but we don't care about that. Okay, so you need to remain firm to your principle, the one that you have in your heart. Okay, no matter what. So you need to be good in bad situation. You need to help whenever you have the opportunity to do it, and you need to do everything good, even though the people is pushing you to do something bad, because you know that at the end that is going to have consequences. So this is what I have learned from this book, and if you have the chance to read it, I really recommend you. Okay, so have a good day. It was a pleasure, and take care of yourself. Bye bye.